Can I get a mic check? Somebody give me a mic check, or just type yes in the comment section. Here we go. If you guys can hear me, go ahead and type yes in the chat room. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Hang on 1 second. Okay, cool. Yours truly. I seen your actual comment. I'm still debating on whether or not I want to start up a second group, but one of the things that I am going to start doing is I'm going to start a better way in which people could correspond with me via email. And I just don't want to commit to adding a second day throughout the week as it relates to starting a private group. So, just bear with me. I probably won't commit to starting a actual secondary group until next year. I want to make sure everybody, that's already in the current group have a foundational understanding so far. But nonetheless, I did receive your comment. I want to say hello to everybody, and for everybody that will eventually watch this live stream. I just wanted to go live with you guys so you guys can ask questions and stuff. I get a lot of emails in regards to, the public officials and how to handle these presentments, as I'm always talking about, various topics. And for anybody that's trying to email me, if I don't get back to you immediately, don't take it personal. As you guys probably already know, I'm constantly doing research. And, if I'm not with the private group, I'm editing documents as well as putting things into the Dropbox. But nonetheless, so I'm here, and I'm gonna probably hang out with you guys for about an hour tonight. I'm gonna keep it kind of brief. So if you guys got any questions, I know it's only 4 people that's watching right now, but if you guys got any questions or just want to generally chop it up about any topic, that's what I came on tonight for. I know that the title probably threw a few people off, but I constantly tell people that if you want to find remedy, you can't play games with whoever it is that you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with these municipal corporations that's called cities, or these courts of contract, which people call courts. Really not courts, but nonetheless, I mean, you guys got to kill all of these adhesion contracts. And if you don't understand what you are signing, you're going to be in big trouble. And that's consistently one of the main issues that I come across whenever I read these emails. People are signing all types of adhesion contracts. And when you get yourself involved with any of these adhesion contracts, and it might be a limited form of consideration, but it's really a one-party type contract, you have to revoke your signature for good cause under statutes of frauds, or failure to provide full disclosure if disclosure wasn't in the fine print. And in particular, I consistently get a lot of questions about the driver's license and what is taking place with a lot of these traffic tickets. And if people would take time out to watch the video, you will see how I personally handle any of those presentments that the officers write on the side of the road. Now, one of the things that I constantly tell people, or I try to explain to people, is that the courts, or what you call a court, you can go ahead and call them that for the sake of conversation, does have jurisdiction as it relates to traffic. And the reason why they have jurisdiction as it relates to traffic is because they are working off of what is called a intergovernmental agreement between the Department of Motor Vehicles, or in some states it's called the Secretary of State. Whoever is responsible for the registration of motor vehicles, they have the right to contract with police agencies, whether it be the county or whether it be with the municipal police agency, the local police, whoever it is. They do have the right to contract with whoever they want to contract with. And when you agree to have the driver's license, you are agreeing to all of the statutory codes, or in some states it's called, traffic codes. In some states it's still considered statutory trafficking codes. And if you choose to allow the courts to adjudicate the contract itself, which is the ticket, they're not technically a party to the driver's license contract. That's between you and the corporate fiction state. But the provisions in the intergovernmental agreement between the state and the city of such and such gives them the right to enforce traffic laws. Now, that's a separate contract. And within that nexus of that secondary contract, if you give the courts consent to adjudicate that contract based off of presumption, then and they rule against you, then you pretty much have signed up for whatever it is that the police officer claimed that you have done. If you go ahead and consent to that court's jurisdiction to adjudicate the contract. And what I mean when I say that the court's jurisdiction is just that, the contract. You are in possession of a contract, and your actions reflect that as a guilty party. And all of this stuff works off of presumptions. And the reason why it works off of presumptions is because you are presumed to have committed an act of trafficking. Now, if you look at the legal definition of traffic, 9 times out of 10, unless you are a taxi driver, Uber driver, whatever the case may be, unless you are being paid to engage in any type of commercial transactions while using the public highways, you are not technically in traffic. Just because you're behind the wheel of what's registered as a motor vehicle does not mean that you are trafficking. And I'm constantly telling people, yeah, no problem, Ray. I'm constantly telling people that you cannot go in there and challenge subject matter jurisdiction when you have consented to the court's uh, adjudication process, essentially. When you go in, and 9 times out of 10, if they'll usually set up some type of payment plan and say, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to, motion to challenge this ticket? Do you want to fight this ticket, or do you want to sign up for traffic school, or do you want to get on the payment plan? Those are usually the 3 options. And 9 times out of 10, people usually will agree to the contractual nexus, which is usually a payment plan, or traffic school. So those are 2 additional contracts that you have signed up for, and you haven't basically reserved any rights as it relates to you guys' state constitution. And I'm constantly telling people that if you go ahead and you look into the Declaration of Rights and you guys' state constitution, it will say something about the sovereignty, which always surprises me whenever these people, say, well, these sovereign citizens, which is an oxymoron within itself, or kooks or nuts, or we nut cases and nut jobs. But if we're so much of nut jobs, why is it that these state constitutions are consistently within the first, usually right after the preamble, is usually always Article 2? Why are they constantly talking about sovereignty? And I find it consistent that most people don't understand who the state is, not what the state is. The state is not this corporate fiction that people continue to contract with. The state is the people. The people make up the state. This is why whenever you look at any of these state constitutions, it says, we the people of such and such. Now, the people make up that state, which forms a union. This is why most governors or the Secretary of State gives a State of the Union address whenever they are addressing the public in masses. One of the most powerful things that whenever people go into these courtrooms, where is the injured party? Who has a claim against the estate? And once again, if you consistently go in and you don't if you don't rebut the presumption that they have made, then naturally you're going to lose, and you're going to come up on the losing end of things. And you can't do that. You cannot allow them to continue to make presumptions, because all of this is colorable offenses. In fact, that it's colorable, meaning on its face, it looks real, but in essence, it's not. So that's the first issue that a lot of people are having. Second issue that a lot of people are having, people don't understand contract law. And I'm constantly emailing people back, telling people that if you don't understand contract law or the basis of what you are signing, then you can't complain about it. And one of the things that I'm also consistently finding is nobody reads anything. Everybody is constantly talking about, well, they didn't give me disclosure. They didn't give me disclosure. What did you look for? And the driver's license application, it will usually always talk about the social security on the application. You can't show me a driver's license application in the country that does not have some form of social security identification procedure on there. You can't do it. So the fact that you can't do it, you can't come back and say, well, it's non-disclosure. They'll also have all types of statutory codes as it relates to traffic on the application, and it usually state that upon agreeing to the driver's license application, you are waiving and you are therefore consenting to all traffic codes and statutory codes as it relates to traffic in your respective state. So that's the one thing that I wanted to share with everybody. The second thing that I'm constantly getting is a lot of people in these small claim courts. You know, a lot of people have judgments that are against them, and you can't wait until the 19th day to respond, because when you respond, you need to respond and you need to raise an affirmative defense. And if you don't raise an affirmative defense, you raise a general answer, or basically the court is construing the answer to the complaint. That's if you guys are actually even responding in an answer form to the actual complaint. You cannot procrastinate. You cannot waste time, because the more and more that you continue to waste time, it looks bad on your part. And you have to rebut all presumptions, and you cannot acquiesce. Silence is acquiescence. So when you continue to stay silent and you just let them default you, that looks extremely bad. And you can't go back and try to consistently appeal these things because you had a notice in place. You were served a summons. You were also supplied with a certificate of service. So these are some of the things that you guys really need to start taking into consideration. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, it's the system, and consistently try to bash the system when you don't want to take social responsibility for your estate. Once again, you have to look at that estate as property. It's like, it's the equivalent of if someone was to come to your home and break out all of the windows and flood it out, and set your front lawn on fire. That's property, and you would be highly upset. The straw man is property, and you have to control the property as an executor. If you come in to any of these courts as anything but, they're going to roll over you. You have to set the precedence that you are the sole executor. And if the judge wants to be the administrator to the proceeding, that's fine, but you're going to be administrator as well as trustee, because you will be appointed as trustee. So you're going to be responsible for the tax bill that's associated with this adjudication process. And yours truly said, very true, learned that the hard way. Yeah, a lot of people get into these default judgments, and there's nothing that you can do about it. You're waiting on the 19th. You got 21 days to respond to a complaint. They have 90 days to pretty much adjudicate the complaint. Most courts, I know at least in the state of Arizona, it's 90 days after a complaint is filed. They have 90 days to serve you, and I believe on the 91st day, they have to schedule some form of notice as it relates to the case status or the case management. And most people don't read the rules of procedure locally, and people don't understand the federal rules of procedure. And when you don't know how to operate, and you consistently give these courts, once again, consent, everything is derived off of consent. If you constantly, and I'm constantly telling people, go read your state constitution, because when you read your state constitution, it talks about the consent of the governed, meaning that you are giving them permission whether or not you choose to be governed by any of their judiciary systems or any other form or branch of government on the state level. Now, if you're being charged with the indictment must come before the actual charges themselves, then it's a little bit more complex because it's a few more bonds that's associated with these cases. But people are getting taxed and people are getting, handed to them left and right because they don't know how to conduct themselves. And that's the number one problem. That's the number one issue. You have to learn how to conduct yourself whenever you come into contact with people that are making presentments. 3-501. Somebody wants to get paid, you need to make them prove up their claim to get paid. And you can contract with them. That's another thing that people do not understand. You can contract with them. And the manifestation of a contract takes place orally or expressed by your actions. So if you act as if there is a contract in place, then it's already presumed that the courts have standing to proceed. Not standing, the courts have jurisdiction to proceed. If you rebut the claim that there ever was a manifestation of a oral, written, or assertion of contract, then you have an affirmative defense. People need to go read Rule 8. And when you read Rule 8, you will see that these affirmative defenses is what people should be raising in your answer. And when you raise an affirmative defense in your answer, it gives you the opportunity to seek redress as it relates to your complaint. Yours truly said, one case, I wasn't properly served and there weren't any verified claims in the complaint. New Jersey says you don't have to respond to an unverified complaint. I filed to dismiss the complaint due to, I'm taking it you're about to say, due to an unverified response, or not due to a verified complaint. And I totally agree with you on that because it has to have, go read the federal rules of civil procedure. It has to have the court's seal on it and the clerk's signature on all of these complaints. And if it doesn't, if it's not verified for whoever it is that's actually alleging the allegation, for either it be a breaching contract or some type of punitive damages that they're claiming against you, then they don't have a claim in fact. But you got unverified claims. She said unverified claims, the plaintiff filed to have it stricken from the record. I never got the notice and default entered against me for failure to respond to the complaint, which is grounds for automatic appeal. If they filed a default judgment against you, they're in violation of their own rules of civil procedure. Because if the complaint is not verified and the claims are not verified, but you have to raise that. You have to raise that issue. Did you file a counterclaim asserting that as an affirmative defense? The fact that they're, yeah. So this is stuff, and eventually yours truly, because you did reach out to me. I'm going to, like I said, maybe it's going to be probably sometime next year. I'm going to probably start doing twice a week the private groups because we go over a lot of this stuff. I'm doing so much stuff in the private right now in regards to, and anybody in that private group will tell you, and I'm not saying this to sound braggadocious, but I am consistently one of the only YouTubers that I have seen that consistently shows proof of claim. I show them various traffic tickets that, pretty much get dismissed. I just recently showed them a court case with a friend of mine that they cannot adjudicate because we put a trust on the private side of the court, as well as we did some things on the public side and made a tax issue out of it. And these courts do not want to address tax issues at all because most of these courts don't pay taxes, and they are supposed to pay taxes as it relates to that 1099-C, which is the cancellation of debt. Whenever these people come to an agreement with you of any sorts, and they are looking for a private contract, that's what they're looking for. But you have to raise the tax issue. They're definitely not going to do it. And how you raise the tax issue is by going to go look at my Form 56 video that I talked about that in. They don't want responsibility as trustee, trust me. They do not want responsibility as trustee. And people also are not reading the Uniform Trust Code. The Uniform Trust Code is the key to a lot of transactions that these courts are doing in admiralty. If you practice trust law in an admiralty setting, they're not really even going to want you in there. Trust me. They're going to dismiss that case. And you got to get their oath of office. You cannot lose sight of the position that you hold. You hold the keys as the pass through for them to, collect. So without you, the entity is dead. They have nothing. That's just it. It's a dead public entity. That's why the straw man is an estate. Yours truly said yes, she did. Okay, did what's the disposition on that, on the actual case? And what did the opposing party do with the judgment, the default judgment? Did they, try to collect? Yeah, so like I'm saying, while I wait for her response, I'm telling you guys, man, everything essentially boils down to the responsibility of the handling that estate. If you don't know how to handle your affairs, there's no doubt, you are going to get ran over. You are going to get ran over. A lot of people try to do the debt validation letter and they don't understand that the initial contract, most of these people, I don't care what it is, if it's for a student loan, if it's for a credit card, people don't read the applicable statutes as it relates to the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act or the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And if you don't understand what both sides are supposed to be doing and how to cross them against each other, the key to removing things from you guys' credit reports is you have to make the reporting agency responsible for the unvalidated and unverified debt that the alleged creditor is making. The alleged creditor is once again making a presumption, but it's unverified presumption. So if they're making an unverified presumption, it's your responsibility to hold the credit reporting agency accountable, because when whoever it is runs your credit, it is the credit reporting agency who has the compiled records, who is in charge of the administrative process as it relates to the credit report itself. All of this adverse negative information affects you guys' credit scores. If you don't have good credit, there's a lot of things that you are not able to do. But the reason why that letter is kind of like a gift and a curse. It helped a lot of people, and a lot of people did get remedy. But the people that took the letter and just copied and pasted all their information on there and have not found remedy, shoot me emails and, hey, how do I get this to pass through? Well, you haven't read everything that's applicable in that letter. You have to read everything that is applicable to that letter. 808 talks about the validations of debt, which is 1692. You got to read this stuff. And when you start reading this stuff, you can consolidate your entire claim. This is how you draw both parties opposing against each other, and you collect evidence. All of your correspondence when you guys were doing debt validation letters are supposed to be filed as evidence with you. So when you default using the administrative process on either side, when you default them, you can go in and ask for summary judgment. Yours truly said, I received the default in favor of the plaintiff, but they have not tried to collect on their debt. I'm assuming my remedy now is to make a tax issue. Do I need a letter rogatory? Well, the letter rogatory is essentially informing the judge what you want them to do. That's informed. It's a private letter. See, a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what that leads me into something else that I want to talk about. The letter rogatory is basically a equitable letter, or a letter that you would write in equity informing. This is why we're the form 56. All of this, everything that you're trying to do, and I know I'm jumping all over the place. I'm going to answer your question specifically, but this is why you have to be proactive. You can't be reactive. Let me explain something to you guys, and for everybody that will eventually watch this, I want you guys to, if I don't say anything else, remember this. Anytime, I don't care what it is or who it's from, anytime you get any piece of mail that says this is a notice, or if you see that word notice, your antennas are supposed to instantly go off, because they are noticing you. They are noticing you of some form of action that they are getting ready to commence. Read the federal rules of civil procedure, commencement of action before they file a complaint. All of these actions are considered adverse actions if you are the opposing party. Now, It is your responsibility. If you see that word notice, I don't care what it is, any type of bill, any type of credit card statement, anything. When you see that word notice, you are supposed to take action. And in regards to your question with the letters rogatory, the only time you put together a letters rogatory, in my opinion, is when you have a trust already set up that you are planning to use in any suit at equity. This is the main reason why people were not having success with the executor letter as well as the letters rogatory, because they didn't fully understand it. When you're putting together these documents have to have a consistent chart flow, what I like to call a chart flow. And this is what I also, explain to people in the private group that I host. There are actions and reactions, but instead of looking at it from a position of playing defense, you have to be proactive. So look at it from a position of playing offense. See, I try to break this down and like it's like a game, because it really is. It's a game. Now, the reason why I find it that a lot of people are not successful when they put together these documents is because they don't understand how, for one, how to put them together, and then two, they don't understand how to use the applicable laws in order to create a remedy. You have to understand how to create your remedy. And I said this previously also. I said people have to learn how to think about thinking. And once people understand what I mean when I say think about thinking, they'll start putting together their own remedies. And like I said, this is why when people just copy and paste the letter that I provided for everybody, some people, now don't get me wrong, it was mixed results. Some people, were able to get remedy. I've seen a lot of people that emailed me back and said, "Hey, Dre, thanks, man. I greatly appreciate it. I used your letter and I got, maybe $2,000-3,000 of negative information removed from their credit report, and more, peace and blessings to them for the fact that they were able to get those things removed." But these people will test you because they want to know that you know what you're doing. They know that the original alleged creditor, when the original alleged creditor sells the account of the student loans, or they sell the negotiable instrument, which is usually the application for the student loans, they're not in possession to provide the original application. So they usually respond to most people, and most people, end up copying. I call it copying a student loan plea. They'll say, "We are offering a remodification of the student loan where you agree, instead of paying $500 a month, your payments will now be $192, $200 a month." And 10 times out of 10, most people go ahead, they go right along and they just agree to it, and they say, "Well, it saved me a few hundred," instead of saying, "Well, wait a second, why, if I was paying $500 a month, all of a sudden they want to save me $300 a month? What's in it for them?" People never stop to ask that question. Well, if you claim that I owe you this money, how are you ever eventually going to get paid if you are remodifying the alleged debt that I owe you? And people never take the initiative to understand that if they're offering you anything of substance, or anything that's not beneficial to their side, you got to question that and continue to seek verification. They don't have the original application. They cannot prove that they didn't go into the Social Security trust account and receive funds via the Department of Education, as well as the FAFSA statements. They can't do any of these things. So the fact that they can't do any of these things, you have to learn how to put together an administrative process. And that's one of the things that, like I said, I teach in the private side. A lot of stuff I wish I could disclose publicly, but there are things that just they have to stay in the private. And I think that it's important for people to, like I said earlier, learn how to handle themselves, because when you learn how to handle yourself, you'll be all right. Ray G said, "Wow, credit info is amazing, bro. I appreciate that. I try to help people as much as I can." You also said contract law is very important, especially nowadays. Yeah. And people want to complain about lack of disclosure. You can't complain after you have signed your signature. Liability of parties, signature, 3-401. So you can't complain about it if you have if you sign it, then and now there are some exceptions, and I've seen people on the private side, I don't know, because the Catholic Church is kind of in some trouble right now. But I just know that I've seen people claim status as being a ward of the state with the Catholic Church as the guardian of the estate, and when they went into court, everything was dismissed. But I don't want that's going down too far of a rabbit hole. I just want to keep this a real simple, broadcast tonight for everybody. So. But Ray, you are absolutely right, man. Contract law is arguably the most important element because these courts are adjudicating contracts and tax issues. But the tax issue arises from what monies are going to be exchanged, essentially. You know, what money's owed, money's exchanged. That's when it becomes a tax issue. I'm civil. That's when I'm talking. Now if you're talking criminally or some type of a torturous action, then if the state decides to come in and pick it up, if you've hurt somebody or public property, then you do need to make the state whole. And that's another thing, man. I'd appreciate it if I don't get emails that, people are sending talking about if you have, assaulted somebody, assault and battery and stuff like that, man. We're in a situation in life now where we got to all grow up. Somebody say something to you, man, let it go. Seriously. People want to react off of emotions, and then when you get yourself in all types of trouble, you want to hit various people up in this sector looking for a remedy because no, some of you people need probation. You need to be on probation because you need some form of structure. You can't go around, harming people property and not expect to be held accountable for that stuff. That's not cool. There's nothing cool about that. So uh that's an additional thing to think on. Yeah, man, people gotta, hold themselves accountable, man. You really do. People need to seriously hold themselves accountable for their actions, man. And the signature is the key to all of this. Signature is key to all. Signature and consent is key to everything that people are doing. But people don't read the state constitutions. When you read those state constitutions, a lot of your remedy is right up front and close, and they put it right in front of you, and you just got to be smart enough to be able to look at it and see it. So yeah, between that as well as you know this whole traffic ordeal, and this is the reason why I remember when Korean Gaines had got killed, and this is not me trying to bash anybody or anything like that, but when Korean Gaines got killed, you know she had, I would say, some elements of understanding of found, and this is just my opinion. And rest in peace to Korean Gaines, and that's a very sad situation. But this is why I'm a firm believer that when I watch these crazy YouTube videos or people, I don't answer questions. Well, they don't need any questions, answered because they have. Most importantly, they have their driver's license from you. You can. They say you can't you. They say you got a right, basically, not to self-incriminate yourself. So if the driver's license and any other form of evidence that you are trafficking or associated with being in trafficking, you can and will be used against you, why do people hand it over? I mean, that's number one. I'm getting that. I'm saying all that to say when I watch these crazy videos that people send me talking, you got that guy. I don't answer questions on the side of the road and stuff like that. And I'm gonna just be honest with you guys right now. Right now is not the time to, play with your life on the side of the road. You got to think about making it home first. You can handle, the situation at a later day, but you out there on the side of the road acting a nut with these people, and you liable to have some lead pumped into you. So, that's number one. Number two, Corinne didn't rescind any of these contracts. The driver's license itself, she didn't put anybody on notice. She didn't take the proper precautions. Contrary to what people think, you do have a right to travel. However, there are things that need to happen before you try to exercise that right, which is the extinguishment of these adhesion contracts, as well as you need to go back and regain their certificate of manufacturer's title, because the state still has a possessionary right an interest in what you call your car, the state has a possessionary right and interest as it relates to your vehicle, whether it's registered or unregistered. Even if you deregister the vehicle and they still have the manufacturer's title, they still have a vested interest in the actual vehicle. So you can't, uh, yours truly said, I generally alternate between you and Gene Keating's videos, listen 12 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. I learned so much. Thank you so much. Of course, not a problem. He's a legend, but somebody we all gotta step up though. And that's one of the things I was telling the private group. I was like, that's cool and I appreciate the views and stuff like that, but I don't, because people have a tendency to fall in love with the speaker that they hear. People have a tendency to fall in love with the message, and that's fine and dandy, but I want you to check and verify everything you hear me say. Don't just listen to it because you heard Drechilly talk about something, Man Living Naturally said those videos, whereas the videographer challenges the First Amendment, is so annoying. These people are truly taunting law officers, and like you said, they have guns. Exactly. That's why you never hear me. That's why, if you notice, like a lot of people don't even know this, I get mad respect from law enforcement because it does not have to always be an issue on the side of the road with them. You know, it does not have to be an issue on the side of the road with them. Uh, think of it this way, man. It's you're dealing with issues that's not your issues, and then if you have personal issues, at the end of the night, you got to go home. Now, are there some gun happy cops out there on the side of the road? Yes, and they put a very bad name on cops. But and this is why and I had a real because there was at one point in time where I was extremely anti-cop. And I had a real good talk with one of my cousins, and she said to me, "Hey, Dre, man, you got to be realistic, man. Uh, you can't be on the internet bashing cops consistently because when you do that, man, you create a negative aura around yourself, as well as the fact that if something goes down with the people that listen to you, it's not you that they're calling. They're calling some form of law enforcement." And I had to stop back and I had to seriously check myself. And I had to say, you know what, you're absolutely right now that I think about it, because it's like if something happened to somebody out there and, I would feel bad if they watching my videos and they hear me just because, yeah, Drechilly uh, has enforced his right to travel in the state of Arizona and the public officials as well as law enforcement officers respect it. I don't want to be on YouTube or on a public platform bashing police officers and somebody get their head blown off on the side of the road. I would feel bad. And she brought that up to me, and I was like, you know what, man, you're absolutely right. I can't do it. Now, are there a lot of racial elements as it relates to law enforcement and people of color? Yes. And I'm not shying away from that. That's why if you guys watch my live stream from about, what was that, about a few weeks back, where, it was I don't even give them I don't even put their name out, but basically they wanted to interview me, and I was, screening the questions because I'm like, what do you want to talk to me about? Number one, and then number two, I didn't like the questions in the interview in which they had wanted to ask because I felt as if they wanted to put me in a position to where I'm cop bashing, and then they want to turn around and say, well, we don't have a anti-black or anti-people of color situation or platform over here. And that just simply is not true, because when I listen to a few of their shows, I could hear the rhetoric. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, but man, naturally living, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. That dude is annoying because it's like, and then he throws the driver's license. I seen one where he threw the driver's license at the officer. Now, if that cop would have blew that man's head off, you know, for assault, because that was an assault on a peace officer. You can't throw nothing at the cops if they haven't thrown it at you. It's like, man, come on, man. We got to give a little and we got to take a little. You cannot be out there on the side of the road showing your what. And then when something happened to you, want to fault the law enforcement officers for being negligent. Now I'm a firm believer of this. Like, if them cops get behind you and they put that light on you, and you got anything in the car as it relates to contraband, I'm just speaking on now. If I was still in the matrix, and I'm still learning a lot, so I don't want to make it seem as if like I'm completely removed from the matrix because there's still a lot of things that I don't know. But I'll put it to you guys like this: if them lights get behind me these days, I think it's smart, basically, just to keep your hands on the wheel and put some type of light on. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it is a lot of bad cops out there too. I'm not trying to contradict myself. It's good and bad in every profession. But these days, if you talking this right to travel, and if you talking, like uh showing what on the side of the road, man, I'm telling you guys, man, just now it's just not the time to be doing that. Any thoughts on Stop the Pirates? I believe his name is A Texas Cash. I'll put it to you like this. He got a few pieces of my work, and in particular that debt validation letter that was stolen from me. I believe he stole a few other YouTubers' documents and stuff like that. I'm not here to bash, man. I'll put it to you like that. He's doing whatever it is that he got to do. But you know why I don't get mad at it? Is because at least he's doing something to bring something to the forefront, because he could be on YouTube, talking about a bunch of BS. He could be on YouTube, talking about irrelevant things that does not affect anybody in the world, such as reality TV, trash TV. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because whether he's benefiting off other people's work or not, at least he's trying to bring, you know, uh, a form of education to the masses. So he get props for that just by default. Do I agree with a lot of the things that uh, I would say is done, in particularly, gathering documents off Scrib as well as various other resources and stuff like that. But, I'm not really here to bash him because he's not doing what anybody else haven't already done. Now, me personally, I can only speak for myself, and I got receipts for everything. I have over $30,000 in books as it relates to the American jurisprudence, the corpus juris secundii, as well as the United States Code annotated. So, I mean, everything that I'm saying can be, verified from the actual United States government, you know. So, I mean, that's what I'm pulling from, and I think that a lot of people don't understand how much I sacrificed. I sacrificed a lot to be able to, get to this level. And for people that just want to come in and benefit, then that's that's up to you. Benefit how much you can, but I'm not going out like various other people that I've seen that participated in this sector to bring enlightenment to the masses, and were essentially, I wouldn't say penniless, but I would say they spent a lot of time, energy, resources, and money, and other people came along, took their work, monetized it, and benefited off of it without mentioning any names. But I just know that that's not going to ever happen to me. So, more power to him. I come in peace said 3949A gets results. I want to use it, but can't find any info on it but yours. Well, you got to go read the IRS publication concerning it. I come in peace. That's the one issue, I don't talk about publicly. I don't talk about the IRS publicly. IRS, I will say this: I am not a tax protester. If you have Federal Reserve notes in your pocket and you use them, as we all need to in order to operate and engage in commercial activities and commercial transactions, you cannot take a public benefit. And this is another thing why I think a lot of people, in this sector had got locked up talking that 861 argument inside with not inside the United States, not outside, and all of this BS. If you are taking public benefits, which those Federal Reserve notes are, as a medium of exchange, and if you are using those Federal Reserve notes or any form of, I would say, commercial capacity for, I don't even want to go there. Just know that you have a tax liability. You have a tax liability. Reggie said exactly, brother. Man living naturally said, right, at the end of the day, we just don't need to bring trouble to ourselves or anyone else. Uh, Man living naturally, I was kicked out. The bar ain't the, at one time, yes, but yeah, the bar is not having me, man. Period. At one time, yes, to answer your question. And I think a lot of people pretty much gathered that I kind of disclosed a lot of private information in my private group as it relates to the experience there while being a student. But yeah, they don't want no part to me no more because it's just hard, man. It's hard knowing that basically nothing works or nothing exists the way we think it does, and just the sucker, and that's true. I think it was William Shakespeare that said a sucker is born every day. That's true. A sucker in a sense that if you don't realize that there are people that benefit off of you not knowing, and that's okay with you, then he's right. It's a sucker born every day, and that's true. He said, well, I'm rather new to your channel and would like to compliment you on your communication skills and level of knowledge. I appreciate that. I think it's P.T. Burnham said, you could be wrong. Well, yeah, I know that whoever said that, that's a powerful quote, and that is true, you know. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like the family thing. That's a family ordeal. I think I got like over 4 female cousins that's paralegals, about 3 aunts that's lawyers, and then on the other side of the family, about 2 uncles that's lawyers. So, I mean, this is pretty much, a family ordeal. That in real estate. So, another thing that, where I'm currently at with all of this, as it relates to real estate transactions and things of that nature, that's another thing that I think that people, I will say this, and I don't want to disclose too much because I'm working on a paper that I'm going to write, and eventually I'm going to provide for everyone that, is subscribed to my channel. I'm going to provide that as well as everybody that's in my private group. I'm working on a paper, and one of the things that I think that people, what we need to do when we go to closing immediately is we need to file a complaint against the banks. And I think that this is where people who are dealing with the whole mortgage foreclosure issues, because our actions, if you go read restatements of the law, contracts in particular, the formation of the contract as the promisor and promisee issue, it manifests an obligation. But the obligation in totality was not fully disclosed. That's the one portion where if you look at any of these mortgages and you look at any of these mortgage situations, that's the one aspect of that promissory note being a security, an investment security is not fully disclosed. And they cannot do that. They cannot do that. So it is of my opinion that looking back on it, I think that that's where people are messing up at. And I think that's where people are continuing to mess up at. If you're going to use TILA to address your issue, you need to have the financial resources already in place because it's going to cost you a lot of money if you are facing a mortgage foreclosure to use TILA. And, it's at this point in the game, a lot of people feel as if it's a lost cause, but I'll put it to you like this. Before foreclosure comes on your part, you need to file a complaint against the bank. I'm going to just leave it as that because I'm still working on that. I come in peace said, thanks again. I'll get the name of the info after the video ends. It's so much to take in. I've been studying for 2 years and still don't have enough. Man, this is a lifelong journey. Heather Sundermeyer said, hello, everyone. I have some questions. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and ask some questions. I fought a foreclosure and held the so-called bank off now for 8 years, educating myself from scratch. Exactly. And a lot of people do not read. I mean, if you guys really want a real remedy, all you pretty much got to do is go to the source that's adjudicating all of this mess. A lot of people do not want to spend the money. And the only way you're going to find remedy is spending money and because freedom is not free. I don't know why people want to continue to get something for nothing. Freedom is not free. You guys can hear me talk. You can hear various other YouTubers talk and speak, but you, at the end of the day, are going to have to make some form of sacrifice, whether it is financially, whether it is 2 to 3 hours worth of sleep every night, whatever it is. You are going to have to make sacrifices in order to understand all this and start putting the pieces together. And in particular, to answer your question, the American Law Institute uh, put out a restatement on mortgages, and I believe it's going for $156. And if you are not willing to spend $156 to study, and because remember, most of these courts are going off of the American Law Institute treatise that they compile, as well as the American jurisprudence or corpus juris secundii. And if you don't understand the remedies that are associated with those 3 publications that I just talked about, then you are going to have an extremely hard time. You can use TILA, you can use the Patriot Act, you can compile, you can use the Freedom of Information. But in particular, if you don't want to spend a little bit of money, you're not going to find a remedy. Yours truly said, can we use the administrative process on credit bureaus if they continue to respond with unverified results? You mean when we know that they're not verified by Black's Law definition? Exactly. And what you have to do is you have to inform them that any further correspondence will be construed as evidence for failure to see. What they'll try to do is they try to circumvent the issue of the definition, what you just said, the definition of verified. And a verification, if you look at the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act or any Black's Law or legal dictionary that these courts are using, it means that it has to be verified by affidavit or oath or deposition. And the reason why they don't do that is because people do not demand and stake forth the assertion that that must take place in any correspondence with you. But you have to formulate the letter to state that. And if you don't formulate the letter to state that, then, they're going to continue to, what they'll do is, I found a lot of people with the whole medical bills and stuff like that, that people are trying to get them to validate and that they haven't went into that Social Security and received funding is they'll send the invoices that show an amount, and they feel or they think that that constitutes as verification, and it doesn't, because in particular, and I wish I could show you guys his actual case. A friend of mine, and I showed everybody in my private group this, a friend of mine had about $4,000 in medical bills with a hospital out here locally, and let's just say we did some things, man. I wish I really could show you guys that. I might end up just making a video about that. I'm going to get his permission and everything like that. But I showed it to my private group, and they can vouch and verify. And the court cannot proceed in any adjudication process. They cannot proceed, period. And if you go, man, I wish I don't want to spill the beans, but just know when we check the court calendar, they took the case off all of the dockets. They took when you look at the particular case log and you look at the judge's court calendar, she has literally from if you typed in from today's date, which is the 14th, all the way up until like late November, her docket is filled. But his case, when we type in his case number, no court date found. I wonder why is that? But what I'm saying is that people do not make the hospitals produce verified responses. But when they file a complaint, it'll always be the person who is in charge of records or accounting or some form of billing and coding administrator, which will sign it in an affidavit format. So they know, to essentially answer your question, all of these alleged third-party debt collectors, when they purchase these debts, they know that they are supposed to provide verification. And you have to consistently, when you use the administrative process, first of all, you got to understand how to put one together. And I'm going to have to do a video explaining that to people, and that one is going to be, I'm going to do it. It's going to be an open private invite. That's how I'm gonna do that one. It's gonna be an open private invite, and I'm gonna show people some documents and stuff like that. But it probably won't be because I'm so busy with the group. It probably won't be anytime soon. I want to say a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, just to most of my subscribers. I'm just going to have to probably put it off till next year until the year's out. I got a lot of traveling and stuff that I need to do before the year's out, and I have to do. And I'm going to be between the West Coast as well as the East Coast, back and forth a lot. Uh, So I'm gonna a lot of people and a lot of things. It's just gonna have to wait until 2019. But in 2019, I'm gonna have a lot more time on my hands as it relates to being able to help a lot of more people in the private, starting an additional group. So if you people are interested, if it's any people that are interested out there, shoot me an email, and I'm pretty much for certain next year I'm more than likely going to have a Friday night group, private group, and I'm going to take 15 people in that group. It's only 12 people in my first group. Second group is only going to be about 15 people, so I'm going to add an additional 3 people. But people need to understand how to put together these documents and how to first put together an administrative process. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand and know how to put together an administrative process. When you put together an administrative process, you are essentially presiding over these correspondence, and you have to be consistent with the notary that you are using, because when you ask for the certificate of default to send to the actual person or company that you are corresponding with, they have to have notice on both sides. And what I mean by that is that you have to give them opportunities to cure, because once again, exhaustion of administrative level remedies before you file a complaint against these people and ask for uh, summary judgment. You have to have all your evidence. You have to have, as they like to say, all your ducks in a row. You have to have all of this evidentiary evidence with you corresponding with them, giving them the opportunity to cure. So you have to start formulating letters to the decree that you are giving them the opportunity to come to an additional contract. And in particular, you said that you listen to Gene a lot, and Gene always says this. He says he forms a contract with them on conditional acceptance, meaning that if they send a presentment, he conditionally accepts their offer to contract upon proof of claim. Now, what are your proof of claim? Exhibit the original instrument. You got to go read 3-501, because he's absolutely correct when he says that it shows you how to put together a conditional acceptance. 2-207, which talks about the acceptance. Go read 2-207 as well. Now, when you put together your administrative process and you do it correctly, it should not be a situation to where your complaint is all over the place. You have everything that is considered evidentiary, and you have to read the court rules of evidence. This is the additional publication, or wherever you guys can find it at online. You have to read your state court rules. Nobody reads the state statutes. You can look at everything that you want to look at from a federal level, but unless you have an issue on a federal level, what's the point? Now, I believe that when you are a true researcher, you're going to look at both and you're going to cross-reference, but you already know at the end of the day, the supremacy clause is in full effect and force. So looking at the state statutory as well as rules of court is extremely important, because when you have concluded the administrative level exhaustion of those remedies and you have concluded your administrative process, you are then supposed to basically just simply present evidence in your complaint. Your complaint should be concise and brief. And it's no more talking, because you have done what? You have exhausted all administrative level remedies. So now you are proceeding to the next step. And a lot of people have a tendency to, once again, put the cart before the horse. You can't do that. So hopefully I answers your question with that. If you have any other questions as it relates to that, get at me in the private with my email. I come in, P said, thanks again. I'll get the name of the emperor after the video ends. It's so much. Oh, okay, I read that. He said, I read that one as well. Marlon Pierre said, Drechilly, peace family. I'm in Glendale area of AZ. I understand that you are too in AZ. I'm a new sub, and I was wondering if I and my 2 brothers can arrange a sit down with you. Yeah, I'm actually going to be up there on the 30th of this month. So go ahead and reach out to me. I think that was you who sent me an email as well. I don't know if you have already, but I believe that was you that sent me an email. But yeah, I'm gonna be in Scottsdale on the 30th. Heather Sundermeyer said questions. I had 3 trucks. One was a 1500 Chevy Stepside. It was a 93 and I have a loan on it. I hadn't got the memorandum title so I could tag it. I also have a 96 Chevy S10 and 4 Ranger Edge. It's all good, Ron G. She said, I put the 96 tag on the 1500. The cops told the 1500 saying he had 3 more tickets on it. My mother went past the truck every day and it never had a ticket on it. He said, so I had to go to the police and get the ticket info. Since I didn't get the tickets, I made them give me copies. The 3 tickets for the 1500 said all say it's 96 S10 because I had to tag it on it. Hold on, I'm gonna come back to everybody's question. Let me finish her question. The tickets were on 6/20 at 7:30 a.m., 6/21, 11:30 a.m. The ticket numbers were 11:01 and 11:02. I'm pretty sure you wrote the tickets on the same day they told it. I would have wrote it down to contact only why I clicked because the dog. I need some help with a promissory note for the tickets in the tow stores. Can I do that? No. If you write and this is another thing that I constantly tell people, okay, yeah, okay, and I think I know where you're going with this. You said, let me finish reading. You said, I was illegally foreclosed in 2011 and actually produced a note. No one would help me back then. I lost my house. I filed for a hardship. Okay, so you kind of like got the, let me address the issues as it relates to the trucks first. I'm going to tell you one time and one time only. And this is not legal advice. This is all in for entertainment purposes and use at your own discretion. If you put out an international bill of exchange and you put out a promissory note, you're going to be in some serious trouble. And I'm going to just leave it as that, because a lot of people that are trying to do a lot of this stuff did not have a foundational understanding of the tax obligations as it relates to international bills of exchange as well as promissory notes. Nor are they secured party, nor have a perfected interest with various public entities that have notice of a UCC filing, which leads me to make this statement. This is another email that I want to address. People need to stop thinking that the UCC1 is the key to all of this. I put my UCC1 with the Secretary of State and they got notice. That's just what it is. It's notice. It is not your end all be all remedy. It's just not. That's just not the case. It's not your end all be all remedy. And the reason why it's not your end all be all remedy, because if the commercial security agreement, which is in place between you and the estate, has to be in trust. And well, I'll leave that to the people. Just know that if you write a promissory note and you issue it out, don't be surprised when you get the cuff slapped on you. Just don't do it. No, you said I was legally foreclosed on in 2011. I asked for them to produce the note. They don't have the note. They don't have the note. They don't have the original note. None of these alleged lenders have these notes. None of them do. Michelle Lyons, thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for tuning in and listening. Hopefully you understood. I recall your comment. Hopefully you understood what I mean when you ask a question as it relates to trust law. And in particular, if you haven't already, you need to download the Uniform Trust Code for your particular state in which you reside in, as well as the Uniform Trust Code, just the regular Uniform Trust Code, which is pretty much the same that all of the states have adopted. Those are 2 publications that you need to download and read. Highly suggesting that you read them. Bake Show said, love and respect. We're love and respect to you as well. I also got your comment as it relates to the Constitution. And before you came in, I was telling people that earlier, that based on the comment you had left I think that you have a understanding. I'm glad that I was able to break it down for you, and you was able to grasp what I was meaning when I was saying that, when I talked about the Declaration of Rights and the fact that all of the adjudication that these, what we call courts, are doing is they're yielding it off of our consent and presumptions, because you have to rebut presumptions as well as assumptions, as well as you cannot give these people consent to adjudicate private contracts in which they are not a party to. And that is what is the key in all of these small claim situations. Like I said, this not with criminal is some bonds associated, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole as well. But with these contracts that are pertaining to value and consideration between two parties, these courts cannot adjudicate these contracts because these contracts are essentially private contracts between two private individuals, whether you have a contract with a public entity or whether or not you have a contract with another person that is living, breathing man or woman, not person as how they define it. You know, uh, if both parties give them consent, then they can step in and adjudicate. But if one party does not give them consent to adjudicate, they cannot proceed. And I have proof that I just wish that I could show you guys that right now, because this blows a lot of people's mind. They cannot adjudicate on these contracts. They can't do it. But everybody go in there and they waive uh the right not to consent, and they give up jurisdiction by just making a general appearance. And if you go down there and if you file anything with the clerk and you haven't put special limitations on it, and if you could put together an affirmative defense under Rule 8, but I would do it on a private side if I'm trying to make it an equity issue. If I'm trying to make it a tax issue, then I'm going to have the Form 56 on the public side attached with my answer. So if you want to play, but and then I'm staking out my sole position as executor if you guys want to play this game. So we can, we can go back and forth and play the dozens if you want to do that. You have to you have to put yourself in a position in which these people, when they see you, they know, okay, this one right here is not even really worth it because these courts are trying to get out of tax liabilities at all costs. So if you come in and do business with my estate, I'm always eventually going to make it a tax issue. Whether I go in and I'll pump fake you and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer to the complaint. The court wants me to, consent to something. Okay, I'll consent to it, but I guarantee you there will be a tax liability that the court will have associated with it. So, Rome G said all contracts are discharged at the Treasury. Exactly. Uh, Marlon Pierre. Okay, cool. How do I get your email? Hang on one second. I'm gonna type it in the chat real quick. I'm gonna type it in the chat real quick for you. That's my email. Uh, Heather Sundermeyer said that's why they never left the tickets on the truck. Yeah, well, but you gotta rebut the presumption. They making a presumption. You gotta rebut the presumption. Now you gotta prove that. Remember, the burden is on the plaintiff. If they come in making a claim, they gotta prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And how I personally keep a lot of these traffic court judges in check is when I used to, go in there. I would go get that oath of office. I would get that bond. So I got two elements. I got that bond. I got that oath of office. Those two keys that they really, really try their best to hide. And the clerk plays stupid a lot of times. Bond, oath of office. We might not have that down here. Let me go ahead and check. Well, you go right ahead and go check, and I'll be down here until I get it because I'm going to provide you the statutory law that states that it's supposed to be down here. So if it's not down here, you're going to be in a real serious issue then. And then I'm going to have the attorney general file a criminal complaint against this municipal corporation because that's what you guys are. You got to know, that's another thing I'm going to eventually talk about, learning how to use the attorney general. The Attorney General can help you guys out in a lot of ways. I'm telling you guys, especially with these, these consumer fraud as well as these alleged debt collectors. I'm telling you guys, man. Uh, I know some guys in Wyoming, and they got a class action against. Oh, I don't want to put the. Just know if you learn how to use your attorney general, read the administrative code as it relates to you guys to state attorney general, and then it'll tell you a lot of powers, duties, and obligations in which you can use the straw man um with the attorney general appointed as your private counsel, man. And I'm telling you, dude, you'll find remedy that way too. Uh she said that's why they never left the tickets on the truck. Yeah, so you got to go in here and rebut the presumption. And if you stand silent about it, then silence is acquiescence. Who is the state? Can the state come forth? Let me ask you this: if a police officer worked for a municipal corporation and these municipality police departments is kind of quasi contracted to uh, patrol and engage in law enforcement activities, are they not the state? Ask that question. Answer that question for me. So there you go. That's how you think on that one. Yours truly said they can't produce a note. Obviously, it would be beneficial to ask for the instrument in which we received the loan. Example: please provide a copy of the check, etc., in which the loan was given to. Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier when a lot of people was using TILA and stuff like that. You can use TILA, but I'm gonna tell you guys, this is the second piece of information I'm going to give out. These courts in which and how they adjudicate mortgage foreclosures. You need to buy American Law Institute Restatement of Mortgages, because in there it talks about what needs to take place before foreclosure proceedings have begun. Uh, I come in peace say, so you're saying don't sign anything. Give me clarity in regards to that. Give me clarity, I come in peace, when you say, so you're saying don't sign anything. Marlon Pierre, thanks family. Rome G, their child is the minor account, not the living boy or girl. They don't care 1 cent about you or yours. Exactly. Heather Sundermeyer, rebut the presumption. How do I do that? What can I file in the court? They don't have a lot of parking. They don't have a lot on parking tickets. What did you tell me to read? Can you write it for me? Attorney General got that. Thank you. Well, yeah. This is for entertainment purposes. And entertainment purposes only. I can't tell you how to go about doing it. I have videos in which I myself have explained the process in which I have used, and I'm going to refer you to watching the videos in which I covered that issue. He said, I don't have to go to court. I need to file something to rebut the toll. I don't know what to file to say they towed the wrong truck. The toll bills over $1,000 and 1,500 and 600 on 600 on the Ford. Well, you got to understand that you got to look into uh the procurement contracts in which your city has with whoever the tow company is. And that's another thing that a lot of people, when they doing this whole right to travel, you have to notice the toll companies as well. It's a lot of people that had the right paperwork. And I got an email recently about that. It was this gentleman, he had everything done correctly, but he forgot to notice the toll companies that they will be held liable for theft, because that's essentially what it would have been, because he did recoup the manufacturer's certificate of origin title uh for his actual what they call a vehicle, but his private conveyance, aka automobile. So yeah, that's another thing that they plan with the people. You guys got to understand the legalese that these people are using. They're using legalese. You said private counsel. Well, I heard that, but can't find any info on there on making the attorney general private counsel. Can you point me in the right direction? Yeah, I had said what you want to do is download the administrative code for your state, and within the administrative code, It will further elaborate on the rules as well as processing and decision making with the Attorney General in your respective state. And you will find remedy by reading that as well. But it goes hand in hand with learning. It's two things that I would suggest that you read. You need to read the statutory laws as it relates to the Attorney General as well. So, because the statutory laws will tell you what needs to be in place with the Attorney General, such as the oath of office, as well as certain bonds, as well as various things. Then you need to read the administrative code. And a lot of this stuff, I'm going to tell you guys, a lot of this stuff is hard to find over the internet now because they've been pulling a lot of this information off of the internet. Because a lot of people, have been finding remedy, but a lot of people just want to sit back and just because you hear me say something, yeah, that's fine, that's dandy, but you have to go into your respective state and pull the research. You got to do the research in order to find this information. This information is public, but they pull a lot of this information off of the internet. Rome G said there's no loan. There are advances to banks by the Treasury, IRS, and it's the signer's own credit being advanced as a grant to the bank. So then they pretend they lend it to you. Exactly. They never made a loan. Banks, the banks, man, if people even read Title 12, subsection 411, that would get people out of a lot of issues right there, Rome G. If people read Title 12, subsection 411, that would get people out of a lot of issues. In addition to the fact, let me ask people that, like, all right, and you look at the Constitution state that any controversy in the amount of $21 or more, you get a right to a trial by jury. People and the banks can't loan money. Going through exactly, the banks can't loan money. They can't. But they say you get a right to a jury trial. Why haven't people been bringing up the issue that you waive, and once again, that comes with nobody reading these deeds of trust. Usually, the deed of trust will state that you waive a jury trial if the mortgage, what you call a mortgage, goes into default. In addition to the fact that how can the default occur before maturity? If you're on a 30-year fix, if you're on a 15 fix, 30-year fixed, I don't care whether it's adjustable or it's not adjustable. If you're on a fixed rate, how can the loan go into default? And I mean, I'm telling you that alone right there, man. I'm telling you, we all is guilty of it, man. You excited, man. When you go to closing, I consider it part of your house. I wasn't driving the truck. I consider it part of your house. I wasn't driving the truck, so it's considered household goods. It wasn't registered with the state. I didn't have the title yet to tag it. Okay, so I mean, you got various remedies. You have to email me so I can get a better understanding, because I mean, I'm reading the chat and your message is not coming across as consistent because you're in the chat room. So it's like I'm reading it in chopped up pieces. So if you want to email me, I'll put my email in the chat so I can get a better understanding of what your situation is. But as it relates to all of that, I'm suggesting this is not legal advice, but I'm suggesting because I don't want to hear it. The Attorney General will be watching my stuff, and I don't want to hear that shit. Oh, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to have to come in and I don't want to have to come in and issue a complaint. So come with it though. Come with it. Come with the criminal complaint. Practicing law without a license. On one hand, they try to have it both ways. They try to have it both ways, right? On one hand, oh, you guys have public access to everything. We're not hiding anything. It's full disclosure. But then when you start using their tactics, they want to complain. Oh, you practicing law without a license. So it's like you can't win for losing and start whining. So nonetheless, nonetheless, So yeah, be on the further lookout for, like I said, probably from here until next year. I'm kind of like I'm gonna be all over the place. So I really don't want to commit to another private group. Not right now. It's just not the perfect timing. So and I like I said, I got a lot of people that I want to go see, and I got a lot of things that I want to do, and you know, back and forth between both coasts. So I won't really have that much time except for Wednesdays, in which I committed to the current group that I have. So, uh, but 2019, like I said, I'm gonna, be helping a lot more people, and we can start finding remedies together collectively. But it's how we got to go about it. All of this tax protest, all of this anti-cop, like I said, if something happens, somebody breaking into your car, somebody breaking into your home, it's not me who you're going to be calling. It's not these other YouTubers that talk this and push this anti-cop agenda. It's going to be the police at the end of the day. So give a little, take a little. Don't become influenced by all of these people on the internet. Same thing with the IRS. Don't take a public benefit and use a public benefit. And then when it comes time to pay out a little bit in sweat equity, yeah, I said it, pay out a little bit in sweat equity, have an issue with it. Because unless you're ready to really go off the grid, like the Amish or like the LSD people, and unless you're ready to start your own private community by rescinding the birth certificate contract, as well as every other contract, Social Security, and every other adhesion contract, unless you're ready to really, really not engage in any commercial aspects, which is extremely hard to in life, stop bashing the IRS. The IRS is just simply accounting the books. You do have a tax obligation. And this is why all of these gurus and all of these people that everybody went around listening to are locked up. It's unconstitutional. Well, you clearly don't understand the Constitution. You clearly don't understand the Constitution. Because for you to say that, then you need to really go back and reread it and get a better understanding and interpretation as to the fact that Congress has the power to regulate commerce. What is commerce? Commerce is any and every and all commercial transactions as it relates to interstate. The fact, what I'm doing with you guys now, I'm practicing interstate commerce. I'm using a telecommunication device, the internet, to communicate. It's transmitting across state lines. It's interstate commerce. You use a cell phone. You call long distance. Interstate commerce. Secured transactions as it relates to commerce. Uh, do I have a Trump? Do I have a troll? I said Trump. Do I have a troll? I think Trump is Jesus. See his commitment, religious attitude, patriotism. Trump really made me cry out. Okay, hallelujah. Support Trump, bros. He's our president and last savior. The sacred land of Lord and Jesus is America. Only reason why Trump is in office, and I said this in the private, but I'll go ahead and say it public. Trump is in office because of defense missile contractors. Defense missile contractors and corporate interests put Trump in office. All of this, but see, the American people are so lost as it relates to all of the rhetoric that you could just sell them anything. But if you go around and you think that that man is in office because of the people, you are sadly mistaken. I honestly believe that the United States intention, and I think I said this a few weeks back on my other live stream, the United States intention, in my belief, is to eventually default on that national debt and basically tell China to take a hike and stick it in China, Japan, and Brazil, the top three debt holders of the United States debt. So, I mean, I don't get into that rhetoric, Isaac Clarke. So if you're here to troll, man, you got to go somewhere else, dude. I don't really get in. I don't care what the man is doing, I really don't. I will say this, contrary, and this is a funny thing that I don't think what people understand, man, is that all you got to do is when he disclosed his investment portfolio, all you got to do is take a look at the companies. If people were smart, okay, if you think that man became president not to increase dividends on return as it relates to his investment portfolio. You own drugs. He can care less about the average working class American. And this is what I don't think people, the American people, don't understand. They so quick to try to attach themselves as if they belong in that club, and you don't come from the same socioeconomic background. That's just what I find. Like you work a job. You work a job, or you basically you're not in the same club. Just because you feel as if you can relate, or he says things that you feel as if you can relate to. Meanwhile, you getting up in the wee hours of the morning, or you getting up at night, and you're the one who basically is getting bent over every day. So I don't, that to me is what is pretty much have always blown my mind, and it just goes to show you, man, that it's like it just goes to show you how lost people are. People will go to bat for a man that people will go to bat for a person who ain't never had to work a job or a day in their life, been basically taken care of their whole life, and a trust fund baby. You go to bat for a trust fund baby, and you working a blue collar job somewhere. You talking about Trump is a great man. He's this, that, and the third. But the great man gets to sit in conference rooms, and this go for all politicians. It's not me just singling him out. This go for all politicians. This go for all elected representatives who are doing what the corporate money interests tell them to do, as well as lobbyists and special interest groups tell them what to do. They constituents, these are the people who sit in conference rooms and they make decisions about your life, not about theirs, because, you better not dare try to tell them what to do, which is why, yeah, hence Liberty Brothers, Colin Kaepernick, and that whole incident, what you guys wanted me to discuss. They didn't really like the fact that the black guy basically said, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and you don't get to control the narrative. So, hence, at you guys' little interview that you guys wanted to conduct with me. Neither here nor there. But it amazes me, man, how these people sit in these fancy conference rooms, and, everything is catered. All of the food is cooked to order, and you eating microwavables, and you working 12 to 16-hour days, and you still can't even get by. You don't have any major investments. You don't have any real estate. You don't have any corporate interests or people that basically have the funds to back you or any investment that you might want to make. And you sit up and you talk about somebody who can care less about you. But whatever, it is what it is. Living naturally said one of the biggest illusions that the voting elects presidents, and you caught it right, presidents are selected, not elected. The corporate interest, money interest selects who they it's funny, man, because I was talking to an actual person who was in a secret society, and he told me, he said they know they know who the presidents are going to be years before they even tell them, or before the public think that they are voting for a president. Bill Clinton pretty much already, spilled the beans now. He said, I knew as far back as 84 I was eventually going to be president. He said he was told in 1985 that he was going to be president. If we do all the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation insured banks can take our funds out of the bank accounts. Well, they can do that now because the account itself is protected, but not the proceeds in it. They can do that now. But you're absolutely right. Golden Spoon said they need slaves. Yeah, which is why I don't, I'm like, dude, I'm on here trying to have a serious discussion with the people tonight, and this dude come up here talking about uh, a president of a private corporation operating out of the District of Columbia, which was basically founded in 1871 and have used zip codes as a federal overlay to all of the sovereign land. And this dude up in here talking about somebody as his Lord and Jesus Christ Savior. Man, it's like, dude, this is what I'm talking about. The idiocracy, man, of the people, yo. People think that it's all fun and games. They think that it's all one big old joke. And they think that one day that when they find themselves in these little FEMA camps and they find themselves in all of these little adhesion contracts, they're going to find out how they thought that they had civil liberties and civil rights, and this transcends race because you're all bonded debt slaves. Everybody, myself included, it goes for everybody. And when you eventually find out you ain't as free as you thought you were, it ain't going to be as funny. It's not going to be a laughing matter. It's going to be all seriousness. And at that point in time, it's past the point of return. So you continue to troll. You continue to talk about how these sovereign citizens, and I always like to preference oxymoron that they like to use. You continue to talk this negative viewpoint and have this negative viewpoint of people that want to be left alone, because that's what I truly believe. Anybody who's seeking true redemption and salvation, we just want to be left alone. If I'm not hurting anybody, I'm not, destroying public property, I haven't encroached on another person's private rights, leave me alone. That's all I ask for. And these people, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, man, people play too much. Bottom line, that's what but that's what it boils down to. You like to play around. You like to go back and forth talking about Democrats, Republicans, this, that, and the third. Both parties are controlled by the powers that be. And the name of the game is what Rome G just said. Debt slaves is what people are. He said, well, put Drechilly, they need poor public charitable trust child dead citizens pay their bills. Exactly, as the pass through. Jim Crenshaw said exactly. They were groomed years in advance. Of course, of course. Why do you think you can find like if you go back and you look at all of the old footage of Obama and stuff like that, they basically did a documentary before he assumed. I would say he knew back as far as when Bill Clinton first took office that okay, I'm gonna have to wait my turn, but eventually I'll become president. I'm telling you guys, I'll talk to various people. But in particular, I would never put his name out there. But he's a very famous researcher, and he was involved in a secret society. And he pretty much told me, he said, "Oh yeah, the presidents know, they know what they got to do in order to assume the responsibility and talking points as president. They get groomed to get in front of the camera, and they get groomed to, they all are told years in advance that they're one day going to be president." And so they get like various years. They get like 16 years in advance to freelance. George W. Bush knew he was going to be president too. Man, Natural Livingston Act of 1871, exactly. Subsection 419, municipal corporation, and it clearly states that. Yours truly said, are you familiar with using the post office for free, general post service or something like that? Yeah, but the post office, I'm gonna tell you, I tried to do some stuff at the post office recently, and I'm gonna just be honest with you, man. It goes to show you, man, how much people are in the matrix. I had a couple of forms that, in particular, a 3811 form that I was trying to use, and Postmaster didn't even know what the hell it was. So, I mean, yeah, man. The post office can be used for various things, and you got to access the post office department side of it. So a lot of people don't even know that the Postal Union Treaty, I forget what year they signed it. I believe it's in 71. Whatever year that was that the post office department striked, that's when Nixon went ahead and he reorganized the post office department and turned it into United States Postal Service, which is essentially a monopoly corporation that has complete jurisdiction to control U.S. domestic mail as it relates to zip codes. Now, if you're operating with outside of the zip code and you operating with those brackets in place, then that's another thing. But it's harder, it's more difficult than what people make it sound like. It's real easy to access that private side of the post office. And I'm here to tell you, I've been trying to do a lot of things on the private side of the post office, and I've been getting pushback, very large amounts of pushback. So they know that I'm on to something as it relates to the people that are in the know that work for the United States Postal Department, that are underneath the jurisdiction of a quasi corporation like called United States Postal Service. Big difference. Man Living Naturally says, staying under the radar is key. Don't bring attention to yourself. Work the system to your benefit with the least amount of attention. Exactly. And that's why, and truth be told, man, I don't know. And the reason why I try to do this because I know that I can help a lot more people. But it's a lot of people that I deal with in the private that don't even like the fact that I have a YouTube channel. They like, Drake, what are you doing, man? You need to get off of that. Because I try to look out for the people, man, because I know that, when my time is up on this earth, I need to be able to say that I did something to help the masses while I was here. You only hear and nobody knows, contrary to whatever faith you have, nobody truly knows where we're going in the afterlife. Nobody does. So with that being said, man, you have to be doing something in this life. You have to. You got to be doing something in this life, whether it's to bring, just general awareness or to help somebody and help yourself first. That's the first person you got to start with. You got to start by helping yourself first before you can attempt to help anybody else. But this is what I mean when I say true salvation, true redemption. You got to be doing something, man, besides just sitting around, going alone to get along, you know. Uh, So is it possible to operate on both sides, public and private side? I do, but you can't mix them, and that's where a lot of people went wrong at in this whole sovereign movement, man. A lot of people was taking so much information and they was mixing it up. Public and private don't mix. You have private contracts that basically is between how can I put this? You got to go watch that video that I did on cryptocurrency. Go read when I interviewed those guys about the whole cryptocurrency, and I think I kind of touched on that in the last stream that I had did. But go read the description in which I wrote in that video where I talked about the public and private side and how it's representative in what you call a coin, like a penny or the dollar bill. You know the the living man or women, because they use women now to as and from a to commemorate most of the you know if it's like women's rights or stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that just go read that description. Yeah, just go read the description that I put on that video. I think it's called Drechilly interviews cryptocurrency guys Dave and Frank. That's what it's called. uh Rome G said you can be private by giving her last name first in your date of birth instead of the all caps name and the date it was filed is the actual fictions and date of birth certificate. Exactly. But see, the thing that I always tell people, I'll be like, you know what? If it's a dead entity, you need to address it as an estate. So one of the things that I try to tell people, I say your date of birth legally is your death date. You born dead, literally. You're stillborn. You are born dead. Because that is the day that you are when your parents sign you up to have to create that straw man. That straw man is a estate because remember they bankrupt. So this is why in 33 when they went bankrupt, they had to create that contractual nexus to draw you into the land of the dead, basically. That's why when you read IRS code 6209, they talk about that form 706 and that 709, and they talk about the W2s, W4s, W3s, all of those being class 5 gift and estate taxes. Shout out Keating. He put that out there. That was, yeah, man, that was real deep. Have you tried recontracting with full satisfaction of claim? No, I mean, you can, but who controls the contracts? Conditional acceptance. That's what I talked about a little bit earlier in the bake show before you came in. Who controls these contracts? Who controls them is the key. Who controls the contracts? Both parties can sign these contracts, but who controls the contract? Who has more consideration and value is the key. Go once again, American Law Institute, ALI, restatement of contracts, first, second, and third. You get the whole set for $190. And it talks about the formation, the acceptance, the oral aspects, as well as the manifestation. A lot of people manifest, and a lot of people don't think that spiritual side is let me touch on that real quick. Hold on, let me answer a few more questions. Then I'm gonna touch on that spiritual side to this. Jim Crenshaw said, "I want to be able to say I accomplished something to help people." Exactly, same here, man. You have to be doing something in life, man. You have to be doing something in life. You'll be surprised how many people just want to skate through life and it's just like, oh, me, crush everything and everybody else. As long as I got my money and I still see other people struggling and people don't, it is really truly sad, man. I get people that, Dre, man, I'm about to get my light bills. I'm about to get my lights cut off. I couldn't even imagine, being in a house or apartment or wherever their situation is, being in a home with no lights. What can you do? And sometimes I'm wondering how in the hell they even can able to contact me because without the lights, okay, no electricity. How's your cell phone, laptop? How are you even able to communicate with me? So it's like I don't know, man. But for the people that's trying to get these utilities, these public utilities discharged, I was talking to a group member in my private group about that. The fact that these coupons, these public utility companies have a special interest as it relates to these convertible negotiable instruments, man, and they really do not want to honor these coupons. So you can turn it into a receivable, but good luck. So I've been telling everybody, man, just give them the Federal Reserve notes for your necessities, man. You can't go without water. You can't go without lights. You can't. You need a cell phone bill. Some stuff, man. Just pay it. And you can address it as a tax issue once you get a foundational understanding of tax law first. Rom G said, "Don't forget to hold on, go on. I want to make sure I get everybody question." Golden Spoon said, "Did you know that the Federal Reserve Bank of NY work as a bank for the Postal Service? They all are. They all are. The post office is technically the biggest bank. You know what I mean? Remember, everything is considered chattel paper. So if you handle mail, you handle money. Mail is money because it's all chattel paper. Go look up the definition of chattel paper. Post office is the biggest bank, world's biggest bank." Rome G said, "Don't forget to reserve your rights on the signature, or you've just been screwed." Also known as the surety. Exactly. Give them the UCC code where they can do that at Rome G. Appreciate it in the chat. I come in peace. Thanks for so much for all the knowledge. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Man, living naturally, the land of the dead. Yep. Jim Crenshaw said, "Birth certificate is debt certificate, correct?" Everybody has I've heard so many, and I've heard a lot of people, get into debates on what they feel as if the birth certificate is. I tend to believe that the birth certificate is more so of a municipal bond because it can be construed as a bill of lading, a municipal bond, in my opinion, as well as the general contract that draws you within the confines of the United States corporation. And I'm gonna say that. I've heard that postal money orders are lawful money. Yeah, wrong. G UCC 1-308. You're welcome. There you go. Yep, that's it. Uh, Reservation of your rights to perform. But your rights is still reserved. So wrong. G is actually correct. Uh, I put it to you like this: with the money orders, though, I've seen some people do some things with the money orders, and you can do some things with the money orders and them stamps, but in particular, the 2-cent stamps. But that ain't nothing I really want to put out publicly, man. A lot of this information is proprietary stuff, man. And they don't care if it's talked about, but where I gotta watch myself is that they care if people actually start doing. They don't care what I'm talking about. They care about, okay, if people start listening to him and actually start to pursue and do things, that's where the issue is gonna come in with Drechilly at. But that leads me to my point that I was making earlier. Leads me back there. I was like, a lot of people just, I don't know why, but a lot of people like to hear other people talk, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're gonna listen to me, at least apply some of the information. Do some of the research. But I just noticed that that's man's nature. A lot of that's in man's nature. People fall in love with speakers. People fall in love with personalities or the idea of uh people that have a large following and stuff like that. But to me, I always say, where's the proof of claim at? That's what I look for, proof of claim. I have a group member and she had a bunch of tickets, and she pretty much showed her proof of claim based off of my remedy that I had for her. I ain't gonna say my remedy is just a remedy that I put together on the private side. And we're actually getting results. But you got to take the initiative to put together your remedy and understand it. I could tell you what I would do. Once again, this is not to be construed as legal advice in any nature. This is for entertainment purposes and entertainment purposes only. Also, it is not the indication that any statutory, procedural, or administrative remedy shall be used and conferred on by any issue as it relates to any person participating in interstate commerce. Okay, now that I covered that out of the way, but uh man, living nature say, oh yes, they'll come down like a lead balloon on your head. Oh yeah, most definitely. They will. I have a lot of information on money orders, yeah. Share some of it with us. Share some of it with us in the comment section. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna put my email in the chat one last time though. And I'm about to get ready to let everybody enjoy their Friday night, their Friday evening. Here's my email. If anybody want to reach out to me or anybody have any questions that they feel as if uh, they want to ask me, go right ahead. And if once again, if I don't get back to you right away, just bear, with me and have some patience, man. I'm not exaggerating when I said I get no less than about 60 emails a day. So from new emails, that is. Man, Living Naturally said there's no one size fit all. The ideas that you convey are variable in how they can apply and help people. Exactly, because every situation is different. But if you guys never hear me say anything else, learn how to write a letter. A lot of this stuff can be handled, man, just in how you present and handle yourself in your correspondence. Because when when you show these people that you mean business and you show them the evidence. The reason why I show them the evidence that I got up against them is because when I do get ready to file my complaint, ain't no more talking then. It's no more talking. So I'm gonna show you, and then before I file, or basically doing the proceedings, if I choose to consent to a court's jurisdiction to adjudicate, you're gonna get the discovery and disclosures anyway. So I'm gonna show you my administrative process and all of the evidence that I got against you and give you the opportunity to cure before it even go there. 10 times out of 10, every time I get what I want. I either get a letter or I get a settlement. Well, I'm talking about when I was, when I had a lot of stuff going on personally, but even for, personal friends now and family members, you're going to write a letter stating that these accounts on this credit report is deleted. That's going to be a part of your opportunity to cure, or you're going to discharge the debt in its entirety. And every time, man, every time. You gotta let, but you can't get there first unless you know how to put it together. And I appreciate your comment, man, living naturally, because you're right. No one size fits all. Everybody's situation is unique and different. So it's not just one broad letter that a person can write to try to get out of a situation. But I'm gonna tell you guys something, man, and I'm gonna get ready to get off of here. I'm gonna tell you guys something. All of these so-called, and this is not me bashing people, but I was on the phone with a lady, and she watches a lot of my material as well, and she also associates with people that have a tendency to sell a lot of, they monetize the people, and they basically create all of these webinars and stuff like that to take advantage of the people. And I'm gonna say this to all of you guys that's listening and that will be listening to me. Anytime somebody is using all of these fancy words and they got all this large vocabulary, now there's nothing wrong with understanding how to speak, but I think I do a pretty good job speaking, and I can speak to you guys in layman's terms. I don't have to use all these big understandable terms that the average person who is listening to me talk can't understand or don't have a comprehension. Now, that's number one. Number two, anytime these people are telling you guys all of these fancy, once again, legalese terms, that's the main person you need to watch. All of this offset. Then you got to put up a bond. Then once you bond the case, you need to do this. You need to do that. And whenever they use, you need to surplus. Then you need to discharge. Man, I'm going to tell you guys something. The power of learning how to conduct yourself in a correspondence in a letter is extremely powerful. It is how you present yourself. And that's just it. 3-501 talks about the presentment. And I'm going to end it on that note in regards to that. Watch a lot of these people that are trying to monetize you people on YouTube, because they will one day eventually get their situation. And when their situation come, you guys are going to hear about that person or those individuals being locked up for taking advantage of the masses. Nonetheless, I'm going to leave my email one more time, and then I'm going to get ready to get up off of here for everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed the live stream tonight. Once again, if you guys got any questions or anything like that, you guys can go ahead and feel free to email me. And when you guys do, make your question somewhat, understandable. I mean, I understand sometimes it's hard to write and stuff like that because you're trying to cram all of the information, but make it to where I can understand it and read it thoroughly. And you got to be descriptive in the detail. If you're gonna if you want me to answer a question, once again, these questions is not legal advice, but these questions, about what I and only I would do in this situation. So nonetheless, it's good to hear from everybody. Everybody enjoy the weekend, man. Stay safe out there, man. No drinking and driving. And as I always like to say, man, power to the people, and only in the people we shall trust. This is Drechilly signing off. Peace, love, and blessings to all. Take care of yourself. Good health, good graces. Peace.